Welcome back to the Midnight Narrator, where ancient traditions mask unspeakable horrors and the desire for lineage twists into a terrifying obsession. Tonight, we delve into a chilling tale of family secrets, dark rituals, and the devastating consequences of invoking forces beyond human comprehension. Prepare to confront a reality where the hunger of the earth demands a terrible price. Join me as we unravel the haunting story of the lineage. Turn down the lights, steel your nerves, and listen as we explore the dark side of ancestry. "We could ask Clara," Elias said, their voice remarkably calm. "We'd been trying for years, and the doctors had just confirmed what we feared. Biological parenthood wasn't an option." The idea of Clara acting as a gestational carrier wasn't entirely unwelcome, but then Elias added, "But I was thinking, a more traditional approach." A chill ran down my spine. A whirlwind of thoughts consumed me. Had Elias harbored feelings for Clara all this time? Were they using this as a justification for an inappropriate relationship? I was furious, and when I voiced my concerns, Elias dismissed them, citing ancestral practices. I couldn't respond. I feared my composure would shatter. It was as if Elias, the person I knew and loved, had become a stranger. It wasn't solely the concept of gestational carrying that troubled me. It was the way Elias framed it, as if it were some ancient rite. They weren't suggesting clinics or medical specialists. They wanted Clara to conceive with them without medical assistance. I couldn't comprehend it. My cousin, with my spouse, to give us the child I couldn't bear. The thought was repulsive. Elias had been unnervingly calm during the explanation. They described it as a family custom, a practice their ancestors had observed to maintain the lineage, to appease the hunger of the earth. The more they spoke, the more estranged I felt. It wasn't simply archaic, it was deeply unsettling. I confided in Clara, hoping she shared my horror. Initially, she thought I was joking, but when I conveyed Elias's seriousness, her expression changed. She admitted that Elias had already approached her. She had hoped they would abandon the idea if I objected. Now, we both knew it wouldn't simply disappear. Rage consumed me. How could Elias even propose such a thing? The thought of them with Clara was unbearable. But there was something more, a darker undercurrent to their words. I couldn't shake the feeling that their plan extended beyond simply having a child. I began investigating. I searched through Elias's belongings, seeking any explanation. I discovered old family records. At first, they seemed like harmless genealogical documents, but the deeper I delved, the more peculiar they became. There were unfamiliar symbols, notations about ancestry and fertility, and then I found something that filled me with dread. References to ceremonies, offerings, and reverence for some ancient entity, a being referred to only as the Devourer. Suddenly, everything became clear. This wasn't about starting a family. Elias wasn't merely trying to continue the lineage. They were planning something far more sinister. My cousin wasn't intended to simply carry a child. She was to be a sacrifice, an offering to this ancient entity their family had venerated for generations. I felt nauseous. My mind raced as I connected the pieces. Elias had been orchestrating this for years. Their calm demeanor, the talk of tradition. It was all a facade for something far more disturbing. I realized I wasn't just opposing an unconventional gestational arrangement. I was fighting for Clara's life. When I confronted them, Elias didn't deny it. They simply looked at me with that same unsettling calmness, stating it was the only way to secure the family's future. Clara was the chosen one. She was suitable for the ceremony. They spoke as if it were already decided, as if I had no agency. My desperation morphed into panic, a consuming fear. I had to protect Clara, but I was unsure of the extent of Elias's obsession and the lengths they would go to. Time was running out, and I knew that if I didn't intervene, I'd lose Clara, and the consequences would be far more devastating than I could have imagined. The night of the ceremony arrived. Elias had made preparations, symbols marked on the floor, lights arranged in strange patterns. Clara stood apart, trembling, terrified of what was to transpire. I was also shaking, but not from fear. I was prepared. Elias was unaware of how much I had discovered, the extent of my own preparations. They believed I was defeated, that I had accepted their plan. They didn't know that while they were preoccupied with their ancient ways, I had been seeking something older, something stronger. As Elias began the incantation, my heart pounded, but I remained silent, observing them invoke forces they didn't comprehend. They moved toward Clara, ready to commence the final part of the ceremony, but I intervened. I spoke words they didn't anticipate, words I had deciphered from the most obscure passages of those ancient texts. They weren't intended for me to utter, but I had learned to manipulate the ceremony, to redirect it. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, memorizing what was needed to ensure that they would pay the price. Elias froze as the atmosphere shifted. The symbols on the floor flickered, morphing into unfamiliar configurations. Their confidence faltered, and for the first time, I saw fear in their eyes. They tried to continue the incantation, but the words failed. "You don't understand what you're doing," they attempted to shout. Their control over the ceremony was slipping. The power they had summoned didn't adhere to tradition or purity. It sought only one thing, a suitable vessel. Elias gasped. Their expression twisted in shock. The ceremony had reversed, and they were no longer in control. They tried to stand, but their body convulsed, and they fell to their knees. Their hands pressed against their abdomen as something within them began to expand, pushing outward. The horrifying truth dawned on them. The life they had intended for Clara was now developing within them. I watched as their abdomens swelled, stretching their garments. The weight became undeniable. They looked at me, their face pale, desperate, but there was no escape. The altered ceremony had made its selection. Elias, so fixated on controlling their lineage, was now the one bearing it. The terror in their eyes was all I needed. They understood, and there was no turning back. They were now with child. 9 cycles later, Elias shuffled into the living room. Their once proud shoulders slumped beneath the weight of their swollen belly. They winced with each step, their hand resting on the small of their back. Their face, once sharp and composed, was now drawn and pale, dark circles under their eyes. They reached for a glass of water on the table, their hand trembling slightly. They looked at me, a flicker of understanding, of fear, in their eyes. The ritual had not brought the family closer to some ancient power. It had simply taken what it wanted. And there we conclude our unsettling journey into the Lineage, a story that delves into the chilling consequences of tampering with ancient forces and the devastating price of obsession. What happens when the desire to preserve a family name leads to a descent into darkness? How do we confront the horrors that lurk within our own bloodlines? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If this tale has left you with a lingering sense of unease, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to join us on future journeys into the darkness. This is the Midnight Narrator, signing off. Until next time, remember, some traditions are best left buried and some doors are best left unopened.